Welcome back to another Masterclass with 7 Ways to Wealth. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for tonight. Her name is Arylle Young, and she is the host of the Work and Play podcast. She helps corporate professionals plan and execute their exit strategy from corporate America, you guys. So she is a phenomenal coach, and she's coming to bring the fire tonight. So Arylle, you have the floor. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, sis. Now, I know we started so professional and informal, but I still have to hear how I connected you and Bruce.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Okay, let me tell you that story. So I went to the Formula Conference, and I want to say that was last year, if I'm not mistaken. It was last year, Father's Day. And I was actually on Instagram, and you know how I follow you on Instagram because of the morning meetup, right? So I was just scrolling, and I stopped in one of your posts, and I was reading the caption, and some guy behind me, like, just out of nowhere, jumps out of his chair. He's like, "Oh, that's Arylle Young." And I look at him, I broke my whole neck to just look back. And I'm like, "Yeah, you know
all in
her."
her phone.
He's like,
just all in her phone.
Yes. And he's like, "Yeah, you know her?" I said, "Yeah, I know her. I'm a part of the morning meetup." And he's like, "Me too." And we just started connecting. We exchanged numbers. And like a couple of days after the conference, we decided to become accountability partners. And we've been rocking with each other ever since.
I
yes,
love
ma'am.
it. I love it. You know what's crazy? I'm not even surprised, because it's one thing that COVID did for me being on social media is like, everything that I do off camera, everything I did off social media, social media is my life, right? So when I'm hearing about Bruce networking, I'm like, I know so many people on social media and I don't even know them, but the energy, I think I knew when you guys connected. You guys did an event. This is crazy. This is how I know. Because you guys did an event maybe last year, and I saw flyers. I'm like, look at these guys. And the fact that you mentioned that story, it just makes a lot of sense, because I don't know what happens when energy picks up, but I could just tell the narrative was happening, even though I had no clue what was going on. So
shout out to Vernon too.
Shout out.
You see that LI? That's Lucrative Investments. Vernon was there co-hosting that event with us. So I got to make sure we shout him out too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for letting me take the floor. Shout out to you guys for literally meeting together, like all of us wonderful people creating our own communities is really, really dope. I got to shout out my own community of pioneers, because we got Patrice and we got Tasha in the house with Hospitality Hacks. So thank y'all for joining the community. I know many of you guys' names. That's what's crazy about being on the morning media, being on social media. You recognize names, you recognize squares, you know people's stories before they even meet each other. So I don't know if all of us have had any conversations in person, or if you guys even know me, but I'll start from the beginning. We can talk a little bit about podcasting if you guys had any questions about that, and then we can do the Q&A, of course, because this conversation can be very organic. First of all, who do we have in the house? So like Christina mentioned, I help corporate professionals transition out of corporate into entrepreneurship, but that means a lot. So first of all, who do we have in the room? We got 9-to-5ers in the room, full-time entrepreneurs in the room. Just throw it in the chat. Let me know who we have in the room. And I'm also curious about if you guys have a podcast, have already started a podcast, or interested in starting a podcast, anywhere around that. Because as I tell my story, some of it may apply to you, some of it may not apply to you. And hopefully, if it does apply to you, you can ask me some questions and I can be useful for today. So without further ado, so when we meet in the community of pioneers, we also meet at 7 o'clock. So we do wins as well. I want to share my win. Personally, I have been reading the Bible, and I have been getting more spiritually in tune. One of the things that I say, especially as I'm helping folks transition into entrepreneurship, and this is not to say you can't find spirituality in your 9-to-5. I will tell you my journey. I'm a very systems-oriented person. I grew up in corporate, which means when I was in high school, I knew I was going to be in corporate. When I was in college, I knew that I needed to get prepared for having a 9-to-5. When I got a job, I had a job, so I never really thought about where's my life going. right? I was never intentional about that. So when I became an entrepreneur, life started happening. And I think it was Brianna who was like, people don't talk about uncomfortable situations. So one of the terms that I talk about in my coaching is intentional discomfort. When we quit our jobs, right? A lot of us are talking about quitting our jobs, going from corporate to entrepreneurship. We intentionally put ourselves in a situation where it's going to be uncomfortable. So when I put myself intentionally into a situation where I knew I didn't necessarily have the sales skills, I'd never been an entrepreneur before, no one in my family was an entrepreneur, I'd had no connections before I met most of you guys. I literally found God in those places where I'm like, okay, all right, Jesus, you're telling me how to grow. We've never had a conversation for real. But now here I am, and I'm still moving forward. And so every time I learn something new about life, or I hit a snag, and I realize, okay, these moments are made for me to get closer to God. These situations are made for me to learn about it, read my Bible and things like that. I would say in the last week or so, I'm giving myself a win that I've waken up, right? I woke up at the right time, read my Bible, and keeping up with my habits. So yeah. Thank y'all for having me. I will say this. I see I would say about 10%. I see 10% of faces. So if you can, of course, I know I just said all that stuff about online networking, but if I can't see your face, it makes it very, very awkward. So if y'all will cut on your cameras, I won't be long before you guys. I would rather spend more time having question and answer. So I want to have a conversation about intent. So you guys are all in here. I saw some 9-to-5ers in here. I think I saw a full-time entrepreneur in here. And so I'll start with the basis of me being a career coach. But this entire conversation is going to be about intent. Because as I mentioned, I've been reading more about the Bible and about Jesus and being more intentional about getting closer to God. And what that's allowed me to do is see more opportunities for myself, even though I feel like I've accomplished a lot in my life. Even before I quit my job, I felt like I was I accomplished a lot. And because I was 25, around 26, and more people on the outside looked at me as if, okay, she bought her house at 25. Okay, she's got this job paying almost 6 figures. I thought I had made it, right? But I want you guys to start evaluating your life through the lens of, am I being intentional? And as I tell you my story, maybe something will resonate. So I'll start here. I became a career coach when I was in corporate America. I was always a geek about career prep. I was the girl, you literally, if you want a job, you reach out to me. Send me your resume and we will geek out on how to rephrase this bullet. We would say, okay, not only did you manage 5 reports, no, you literally managed a $5 million account to help your organization generate X amount of dollars so that blah, 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 right? That was what I took pride in. And so I was always the girl who someone reached out to me and wanted some help with getting a job. So I went ahead and did that. Because of that, it was really on some side burner stuff. I never took to that as a skill. It's only now that I talk about what's your high value skill set. And I realized there are skills that I was building along the way that now I utilize them and I can pay for my lifestyle as an entrepreneur. But when I was early on and just as a corporate girl, I would always resonate with this song, Katy Perry. So she says, do you ever feel like a paper plastic bag drifting in the wind, wanting to start again? And it goes through some more lyrics. And I resonated with that because I was just living. At the time in my life, I just felt like I had a good job. People looked at me like I was successful, but I was just living. And because that song resonated with me, I felt like I wasn't really controlling anything. Life was just kind of happening to me. And because life was happening to me, I didn't necessarily take any of the accolades that people felt like I had to heart. So because of that, I developed this philosophy. And like I said, it's funny because I can speak more deeply about my spirituality, which is still in its developmental stage. But back then, what I would say is, as long as you do something, just do anything, God is going to put his hands on it and he's going to bless it. But if you stay still, if you don't take action, if you don't do something, God can never bless it. So even if I was never like clear on what my overall dream was, what I wanted to do in life, I felt like, okay, if I join this group, if I join this African American business group, okay, I'll be in here and I'll find my way. And typically you find, like, I'll get into a group, speak up, okay, maybe I will manage the financial reports. And the same thing happened in the morning meetup. Join the morning meetup. And speaking of, fitness, Christina, like, join the morning meetup. And it wasn't until I realized, okay, I'm focusing more on entrepreneurship than my own health, that I decided, okay, let's start this group. So even still, if you do something, my philosophy was always, God can bless whatever it is that you do, because whether you're serving, whether you're just taking action, he's going to make something out of it. So up until this point in my corporate career, I was just kind of doing stuff. One of the things that I did that I was super blessed to have done was started a small sort of nonprofit while I was in my corporate job. And what we were doing was helping young people who were experiencing homelessness transition from homelessness to a Fortune 500 company. Now, it started off as a volunteer experience. So again, I'm in this regular job as a data analyst. I'm going to work every day and I get this opportunity to volunteer. So I said, you know what else better do you have to do? I'm going to show up, I'm going to teach these kids life skills, and I'm going to go home. I realized that the young people at the homeless shelter were probably like a year or two younger than me. And they had so much life experience. I met a girl at the time, I was making almost $78,000 in my actual job, and she was a manager in Starbucks, and she had employees that she was managing, and she was telling me about her experience, and I'm like, wow, this girl's life is full, and I've been living this safe existence really with no clue of what I even want out of life. She had dreams, she had ideals, she knew what she wanted to do when she left Starbucks. She just knew that if she could find a break, that she would do something with it and she would be blessed. And so I left that volunteer experience with so much inspiration. I felt like, okay, now I see that there's so much more life outside of the life that I've been living. And so from there, I had an idea. It was, how do we get these young people the same opportunities that I've had all my life, but haven't done very much with it, in my opinion? How do we get these young people the exact same experiences so they can change their life? From that point forward, I had a vision. So I'm 25 years old at this time. I would not have said that I had a purpose at that time. I would not have said that I was living a purpose. I would not have said I was living an intentional life. So by me going and volunteering, my life became more full just simply by meeting people whose life means something, right? It means something to other people. Like, I met a girl who cooked Thanksgiving dinner for her family. Even though she was spending this night at a homeless shelter, she had experienced so much more life than me. So I decided to create this nonprofit program. Anybody in here interested in nonprofit? Anybody in here does servant work on a regular basis? If you are, you probably know that there's a mindset that people go into nonprofit work because it's like, we want to help other people, but from an American standpoint, we feel like we know so much more than other people. So I went into trying to help other people, saying, hey, this is what we want to do for you. This is what we want to do for you. I want to create this entire program, and this is what we want to do. But I was taken aback because the administration of the nonprofit, they were literally loud and clear telling me, listen, that's not what our people need. You want to start a program, but this is not going to be valuable. You want to help us, but what you just brought to us, what you just presented to us, it's not quite the result. It's not going to get us results. So I had to sit back, because what was my intention? Like, and I say this now, but in hindsight, I didn't know that. I just had to hush. I had to shut my mouth, listen to what they were saying, so that we can create something that was purposeful. Otherwise, I would have just created something that had no intention. It had no results. I was just doing something again. So if you're picking up the pattern, Arylle is the girl at this point in time who just kind of goes around and she utilizes her skills to the best of her abilities, but there's no real guidance or any sense in the matter. So it wasn't until this partnership where I got to partner with a nonprofit, and they're telling me, we need for you to be able to provide dinner, for you to provide skill sets, and for you to provide a job. So this has to lead to an actual result. So I restructured some things, created the program. We launched it in Atlanta. It was a success. We got 3 people hired at my company. Everybody loved it, right? Word caught on. We did the program for 3 more years, and we launched it to LA and New York. So at this time, I'm like, whoa, this is bigger than me, because it started off as one idea. And now I have 100 volunteers who are in corporate America, and people in like Shanghai emailing me so they can participate in the program, so they can actually be a part of it. And I'm realizing I'm in deeper than I even expected. But my life became much bigger. So from there, I said, you know what? I can't keep living my life on this hamster wheel. I literally was just living my life on a hamster wheel with no real idea of what I wanted to do next. I just was living. And so because of that, that's where I got the idea to leave my job. But I will tell you guys this, and I tell my community this. I didn't leave my job with a plan. I wasn't literally, I had to tell myself, because 3 years before I actually left my job, I wanted to just quit right there because I didn't like the job. But I said to myself, are you running towards something, or are you running from something? By asking myself that question, the volunteer experience that I just told you guys about turned into something that was completely bigger than what I ever imagined. And so by the time I left my job, I knew that I wasn't running from something anymore. I was running to something. So as these steps in my life are building up, I'm getting to a place where I'm like, okay, I'm being a little bit more intentional about what I want in my life, what I want for my career. And I'm not quite sure, but I feel like if I stay at this company long enough to hit 6 figures, I don't think I'll ever leave. And I don't think that I'll ever have enough courage to get off that hamster wheel. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave right now. So that was my thought process. So quitting my job was partly intentional, but partly not. It was just that I was following clear signs that were telling me to continue to move forward and take heed on what God wanted me to listen to. So fast forward, I quit my job. I go through some of those intentional discomfort moments that Brianna was talking about, putting myself out there, selling my services. And I realized, I've been just kind of doing some things. I started 3 businesses, Airbnb, Lyft, doing all these things. And I told myself, did you quit your job to hustle? And that's what I realized when I first started off in entrepreneurship career coaching, I would get calls and say, okay, I want to quit my job and I want to start an Airbnb. So I have to ask the question, why do you want to start an Airbnb? Why do you want to start this business? Why is it that why do you even want to quit your job? What are you building? Because I promise you, if you don't know what you're building when you leave your job, you're going to be floundering. And mind you, I'm not the person to tell you whether to take the leap. I'm not the person to tell you whether you have to plan, but I will tell you if you don't plan it. I will tell you if you don't have an idea of what you're building, you're going to have to go through life and get your own bumps and bruises until you figure it out, which is what I had to do. So when I'm on a call with someone and they say they want to quit their job, the first thing I'm going to ask you is, why do you want to quit your job? How can I even help you do that? Because if you're just as confused as me, I'm going to tell you don't quit your job. Right? I'm going to tell you stay and experience some things so that you can know what it is that you like to do. Before I left my job, I said, okay, I have these gifts and I have these skills. I created this nonprofit. Maybe I'll do another nonprofit. But I realized as an entrepreneur, on those days when I just was like down and out, I wasn't making any sales and I'm on my couch, even though I said I wanted to leave my job to help homeless young people wasn't a big enough why to get me off my couch. So those whys that you tell yourself, sometimes they sound nice, but are they truly what gets you out of bed in the morning? If I have a client who says they have children, right? And you say you want to do this for your children, you want to quit your job for your children, but you decide, I'm scared of sales, I just won't do it. Then are you really doing it for your children? Because those are the things that get you out of your comfort zone. And they make you do things that you know that you have to do for your family, for yourself. So when I realized through my own experience that I said I had a why, And then life tested that why, and the why wasn't big enough. I realized it goes back to the original question. What's your intent? What's your intention? So I want you guys to think about it, even in this community right now. What's your intention for being a part of this community? What's your intention for being a part of your business? Why did you start your side hustle or your main hustle? Why did you quit your job? Because those questions, if you don't answer yourself, if you don't figure out why exactly you're on this journey, you're going to continue to go through the cycle, which I was on. I'm looking at the chat. Did I quit my job to hustle? Did I quit my job to? Oh yeah, no. That was a real question. That was a real question, because I realized I quit my job to have 3 more jobs. I'm busy and I'm not enjoying any of them. I quit my job and I said I was going to run a nonprofit. For 3 years, I'm doing Airbnb. I'm doing bar and yoga, so I enjoy that piece of it. But I'm not tied to my purpose. And so I allowed myself to flounder so far from the reason that I left my job in the first place. Distractions. When you don't live with intention, you will get very familiar with distractions. Distractions look really, really pretty. Distractions look like business opportunities. Oh, you need to come out here and hang out with us. We're going to be able to make so much money. Oh, this is going to be a business opportunity. That's a distraction. If it does not align to your purpose, it's a distraction. Distraction could also be a girl or a boy. You quit. Hey, I'm gonna quit my job. I'm gonna start a business, and then you meet a man or you meet a girlfriend, and you're taking her out on dates, and the money that you said you're gonna save for your exit strategy, you're now depleting it so you can go on a nice vacation, or so you can go to take her out to eat. That's how we get distracted. We easily get distracted because life is showing us these cool, cute, fancy things, but you're not remembering why you did something in the first place. And so you live this reactive lifestyle. Trust me, I know it very well. And what I'm realizing is more and more and more and more, as I do anything, as I start anything with intention, I get better. So I'm going to share 2 more examples with you, and then I'm going to hush because I know we don't have a lot of time. A lot of you guys are in this community, and I asked you, why do you want to be a part of this community? I had to ask myself. So I know Bruce, I know Christina. I also know, most of you guys. If you guys have all been in the morning meetup, I think half of you guys have been in the morning meetup. So I had to ask myself, why am I in the morning meetup? Right? Why am I a part of this community? What value can I bring to the community? What is it going to serve? How am I going to show up? Why do I want to show up every single day? And it couldn't be something that was self-serving, because at first it started off as literally it was getting me up at 8 o'clock in the morning to start my day. But at some point it wasn't enough. And so I didn't realize until much later that when I started the morning meetup, a fitness accountability group, and started having people show up early in the morning, 5 o'clock, simply because we're working out together, right? I had much more purpose in that. My life had much more energy in that. But I had to ask the question, why? Why did you do that? Why did you start the company? Why did you want to be a part of the fitness community? What was it? Was it something that was selfish inside of me, or was it because I ultimately had a vision to grow the fitness group to a bigger group, to a bigger movement? Why? Why put yourself in these situations? And so what happened was, it wasn't until we read The One Thing that I realized I had my hands in so many different pots. And that's the thing. We have our hands in so many different pots, and they all seem very, very important, especially when they're tied to other people, that it's hard to let go. But when you go so far down a path where you don't have intention, you will find yourself in all of these things that feel important, that feel like you need to be there, that feel like, okay, if I am not there, it won't continue, that you'll continue to hold on to these things that don't align with your purpose, and you'll waste more time. So with The One Thing, I let go of my Airbnb. I shut down Lyft, wasn't doing that anymore. I literally decided, okay, the morning meetup fitness group was keeping me going, but at this point, they can show up without me and still get a good workout. We feel like we're so important in these things that if we step back, life is going to stop for everybody else. Life continues. we feel like we're larger than life, so we decide, oh, they want me here, I'm gonna be a part of all of these different things, but that's not necessarily the case. And so when I set my life, when I decided, okay, let me let go of some of these things, let me focus on helping people leave their corporate jobs. Let me just help them. Let me just stick to the script. Let me stick to the script. Things started moving, things started shaking, and revenue started to grow. That was the biggest aha. Because no longer was I just allowing myself to just think all over the place. I'm focusing on career coaching only. 3 years later, now reviving career coaching. And I'm making more money, right? I'm bringing in more money, and I'm realizing, okay, I have the potential to make more money than I ever did in corporate America. That was the first light bulb of, okay, stay focused. So the last example I want to give you guys is the podcast, because this is where most of you guys' questions may come from. Because a lot of people who either started with me in the morning meetup, who saw me from no episodes on the Work and Play podcast to now having 120 episodes of the Work and Play podcast, it started with an idea. But I'm gonna ask you guys now, throw it in the chat. If you just give me your assumption. Did I start the podcast with an intent? Did I start the podcast with an intent? At this point, did Arylle learn from her experiences? Did she start the podcast with a clear idea of what she wanted to do? Woo, guys, y'all have so much faith in me. I love this energy. Y'all have so much faith. The energy is lit. I appreciate the vote of confidence. I appreciate the vote of confidence. I'll tell you this, half of it is yes, half of it is no. Half of it is no. So I started the podcast because I knew I wanted to have a marketing arm of my business. You know how we say run the play in entrepreneurship? So I was running the play. The play was to have my business create a podcast that was centered around the business conversation, and then I'll make some money. So it was partly, there was an intention, right? But how was I gonna make the money? Was I focusing on making the money? I promise you guys, if y'all look at the first 100, I don't know, 75 episodes, I don't think I focused on money at all. So as much as I thought I was going to start the podcast to make a whole lot of money, I got so focused in on having these great and wonderful conversations that 100-something episodes later, I'm looking at, hold up, let me check my bank account. Are these really good conversations? Does this align with the intention? Is this purposeful? So I had to make some shifts, and I'm being extra because I started making money probably like 70 episodes in, but I could have made money much sooner if I was focusing on the intention. So when I realized, okay, I'm having these great conversations, and the thing about it is, when you start a podcast, the hardest thing about it is simply just to get started. So I want to let you guys know, if you've gotten anything started, even if you don't have intention, if you are already in motion, this goes back to my first philosophy, which, Sister Girl was a little bit mature, even though she didn't have it all together. So even if you don't necessarily know exactly what it is that you're doing, this conversation is not to say if you didn't have intention when you started something to stop it right now. It's to say that if you get started, that's the hardest part. The hardest part about starting a podcast is simply recording your first episode, then just posting it online, then pushing it out on social media. So to get started, that's a huge feat, because there are a lot of people right now, intention or no intention, who have yet to get started. They have an idea, but they have yet to get started. So please, if you're feeling like, oh, you know what, I don't know how I was going to make money doing this thing either. I've been doing this thing and I'm not making money either. I want to commend you for doing the doggone thing. The second most challenging thing about anything, not just podcasting, whether it's business or podcasting, I'm going to talk to the podcasting pieces, is being consistent. Because after you get started, now you got to keep this train moving. You got to keep this system going. You got to keep the activity running. And I will tell you this, whether you have intention or not, if you're not consistent, if you don't have intention, it's clear that you won't be consistent. So if you're showing up every single day, doing the doggone thing, you have intention, you just got to get clearer on what it is that you need to do. right? What is it? Why is it that you're doing this thing? For me, it's like, oh, you actually want to make money. So I had to get focused in. So if you got started, if you're consistent in that thing, then you are literally 2/3 of the way. Okay. So the last thing I want to tell you guys is the third part. The third part about anything. But I'm going to talk about entrepreneurship, but this applies to podcasting specifically because I have tangible examples that I want to share with you guys, because making money in podcasting comes very easily when you know what it is that you want to do. Right. I got my first sponsorship, which was $1,500, simply by asking. I had already had the Stripe set up. So I guess the first step was setting up my Stripe so it could accept $1,500. Then the second step was for me to actually ask for the sponsorship. And if I would have put a third step in there, was have a sponsorship package to say this is what the sponsorship packages were. But simply by asking for the sale is what got me the $1,500. Now, I didn't get my first sponsorship until maybe like 30 episodes in. And even then, I didn't move with intention. You know, when the light bulb finally came on? The light bulb finally came on. So sponsorships is one way that I make money. The second way that I make money is through ads. So sorry, ads is also sponsorships. But the second way is affiliates. So if you go onto the Work and Play podcast and you look at the descriptions in the if you look at the description in the podcast, you'll see that there are links for you to either purchase a course from some of my guests, purchase some of the equipment that I use on my podcast, or you can purchase a system that I've talked about in conversation, whether it's Airtable or what's on there, Airtable. I'm trying to think of the systems. It's been so long, and this is the point, because the light bulb shifted a couple of months ago when I went into my back end and I realized that I made $1,700 on one affiliate link. And I did that through, of course, consistency, having the placement, the digital, what do you call it? Real estate. But I was making money and I didn't even know it because I wasn't intentionally checking those numbers. Now in my community, we have a thing called, we know our numbers. So because if you want to leave your job, at the very basis of it, economically, you got to know your numbers, whether it's how many clients do you need? How much money do you need to make? How much money do you want to have when you quit your job? Those are your numbers. So I was checking numbers on my podcast, but I wasn't checking the revenue. So when I saw $1,700, you guys know what I did? Intent kicked in really, really fast. And so that's when I started to put some muscle behind it. And I realized having a clear idea, at this point, I made $10,000 on my podcast through figuring it out. But if you start a podcast, if you start your business with clear intention and a clear system of how you're going to make money, you stay consistent and you focus on the main thing, you can get way more money than I've ever had just simply by going through the motions, sticking to the plan. With having intent, you get so much more results. And so I want you guys to think about that. I want you guys to think about, how are you moving with intention? How are you moving with intention? One of the things that I really, really love is when people sit down and ask themselves the question and they get an idea. It's the most eye-opening thing for me, because when I'm doing my own journaling, I can think, of course, I can ask myself tough questions. I'm washing the dishes and I'm, oh, I got an answer. But to hear my community come back and say, hey, I thought about it and I got these answers and I realized this is what I'm building. And I realized this is why I'm building it. Now it guides your entire interactions. Now when you see each other in real life, you know what a business opportunity sounds like. Every opportunity is not your opportunity. Just because it's a good opportunity, just because it's a money-making opportunity, just because it seems like it's a good boyfriend or a good girlfriend, or possibly a good friend, or maybe it's a good time, that does not mean that you take your eye off the ball. So if there's one regret that I have in my entire life, and that's why I wanted to have this conversation about intention, it's because I've done a lot of things. I've seen a lot of results. But if I regret anything, it's because I wasn't doing things with a clear intention on why I was doing it, which means I was not putting any true effort into it. Things came easily, and I guess that might be a curse and a blessing. But if you guys get started with the same lessons that I've had and I've learned over 2 years of running this podcast, 4 years of being an entrepreneur, and I hope I'm doing the numbers right, and you literally start off with intent, you can make more money than I have in a quicker amount of time. You can see it literally, like I hit 1,000 subscribers last month, I want to say, through sticking to my system. But if I wanted to go hard on that and get subscribers, can y'all imagine? It's because I wasn't focusing on the podcast. I was focusing on coaching. So what are you guys focusing on right now? And what are you getting results on right now? That I promise you, if you're getting results on something, it's because you're focusing on it. If you're not getting results on something, it's because you're not focusing on it. I promise you that's it. But once you zone in, once you hone in on what it is that you want, literally the sky is the limit. The sky is the limit. So that's the conversation for today. The word is intention. And if we want to throw in another one, it's intentional discomfort, because that one right there, like all of this stuff, it was a choice. It was literally a choice. I could have sat at my cubicle and stayed comfortable, or I could have gone out and taken these lumps on the head. But because of that, I got to meet people like Christina, like Bruce, like Patrice, like Tasha. And these are the people literally I watch and I get inspired, even on days when I'm not. And I realize, what's your intention, Arylle? Get back to it. How do you get back into your high vibrations? Because when you're not thinking about your intention, you're like, oh, I don't want to start my day. We all have those thoughts. So you got to figure out a way for you to put yourself in the zone, get back into the good spirits. And so I want you guys, I'm going to just close with that. You guys can ask me any type of questions you want. But I want you really truly to think about, what's your intention? Why are you doing all these things? Are you just taking action, waiting on God to bless a couple things? And just be honest with yourself, or do you have a clear intention and are you focused? Thank y'all so much for letting me come talk and run my mouth. Hopefully you got some value from it. I know Patrice and Tasha, y'all know these things, but I would love for y'all to share y'all's even stories about your own starting journeys and why you guys are where you guys are. But I'm hushing, I'm gonna zip my lips, and I'm gonna throw it back to you, Christina.
Thank you so much, Arylle, for pouring into the community. We absolutely are super grateful. So I am opening the floor to Q&A. I see Orlando has a question. Go for it, Orlando. And anyone who else has a question, you can either raise your hand or unmute.
Hey, what's going on, Arylle?
What's up, Orlando? I knew I saw your face, but then I couldn't find it. And I was telling I knew people.
Yeah. Great on everything you did today. And great on the purpose and the intent. So, and I still watch the podcast all the time. So,
let's go.
Well, what I wanted to know was, now I'm looking for, well, not necessarily sponsorship, but like branding connections or whatever, because my page is growing at a rapid rate, and by next week I should be at 20K, on Instagram. So it's like, now I'm starting to look like, where would I go to like have branding opportunities or partnerships?
First of all, I want to say congratulations on getting to 20K, or you're soon to be 20K. Because I remember when we couldn't get you on social media.
No, actually, Boone Duke and all them run all my social media now. So okay. Shout out to Boone Duke, and I mean, they literally transformed everything on that joint. So
is that right?
Anybody that needs social media, he is the person, and the team is the person to rock out, because you ain't no lie, because in the morning meetup I was dropping my phone number like, yo.
Listen, help me, please. That was you. No, okay, so to your point about sponsorships and ads, what's the focus of your platform?
Well, my platform is I eliminate mortgage, but I eliminate 30-year mortgage, taking all that stress and everything away from individuals, and stuff like that. Now I know the typical, a lot of times the typical sponsor, the way the banks are or whatever, I'm killing all that revenue for them, but it's helping the consumer keep the house is already there. So I'm looking for like particular sponsors that will rock with me in that sense. But on the corporate level, I know pretty much it's like, what you do? We ain't doing, you know.
Mhm.
You know.
So the best strategy, because obviously I'm not in the mortgage space, but I think the same strategy that I use to get sponsors is something that you can use too. But it's what not to. So you mentioned mortgage lenders also like being already in the lane that you're thinking about in terms of ads, but peripherally in your business, what are some like services that or products that your consumers or your audience will purchase or they need when they hire you? For
Well,
example,
basically,
Mhm.
basically what they would need, like before they even get to me, like, a lot of the mortgage companies, when they go through the court process, they get mad and try to report it to people's credit. But people don't know is technically that's illegal. So I got an affidavit, a lien affidavit contract that breaks down all the violations under contract violations, misrepresentation, fraud, illegal fraud and different things like that. So I break all that down in the contract. So it's basically a template. You just put your information in. I walk you through it, because I tell you who to send it to, vice presidents of these companies, to put them on notice that, yo, you already know this is illegal. Then we go through the steps to get you, get that off the credit while you already in court and different things like that.
So
So
as you're doing this process, or list maybe 2 or 3 vendors, type of vendors or businesses that all can collaborate in this one case. Like, what are the vendors? Like 2 or 3 vendors that support you in this or collaborate with you
well, basically that's just it. I haven't reached out because I know this is a fickle market, because I'm trying to eliminate something that they make money from. So I haven't been able to find the sponsor that I pretty much could connect with in that regard. So
Right. So what you're saying is, because you're the people who work on the same deals, because you're in business, they lose money, right? That's what
yeah,
I'm
because I get rid of the 30-year mortgage. I'm not
Right.
getting there.
So your audience still needs support. So how do they support your audience? Aside from you being in their lives, what do they do? The people who offer, and again, if we go too deep into mortgage, maybe it's because I'm not like familiar with like mortgage companies, but like, do they support your audience in any type of way where they have to pay marketing dollars?
No, because see, this is the thing, Arylle. When you eliminate a mortgage, the mortgages are fraud already. So they're already doing illegal service. So they not supporting, because I'm taking money from them. They
Okay.
already, so that's what I'm saying.
So let's take a step back. If you're looking for sponsorships, the first thing you need to be looking for is people who have a marketing budget. People who have a marketing budget are the people who want to get on platforms, who serve the audience they serve. So if it's not the mortgage lenders, let's go ahead and nix them out, because even if they are marketing to people, they're not going to use you to market, is what I'm understanding.
Right.
So if there are companies, for example, if it's mortgage, that means there's furniture companies, there's HVAC companies, there are people in the housing industries who need to talk to your audience, because they want to have your audience pay for them. Like, hey, come to my mattress firm, look for companies peripheral of your business that will pay the same audience to just get in front of them and talk to them. Because if they know you have their attention, then they just want you to sell mattresses to them. Or if they know you have their attention, they want you to sell whatever products you have. So peripherally, that's what I mean. Like when you can even do like a mind map and say, okay, so this is what I offer. This is the audience that I serve. Who else is serving them? Do they have children? Are they buying furniture? Are they buying paint? You know what I mean? Are they also buying cars? You get what I'm saying? So depending on what your audience needs, you'll be basically going to people who have marketing budgets and then saying, hey, I'll market them on my platform. Whether you start a podcast or not, because it sounds like you want to do it from your social media.
Well, you know, Dave already was like, yo, you got to bridge this out to a podcast. So I'm pretty much probably going to do a podcast. So I'm pretty much probably going to have to holler at you on that note.
You definitely do. Absolutely. Because if there's one thing that I've learned, intention or no intention, is how to get these things out. My system is foolproof for sure.
Right. So can I DM you or can you DM me? Okay. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
It was good talking to you. Anybody else got any questions?
She does not bite, you guys.
Yeah, I have a question. Can you guys hear me?
Shoot, Donnell.
Yeah, can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Well, I have a YouTube channel, and something I did that I was informing people on using their credit properly and just dropping little gems. And on my way, I was actually posting up referral links to certain credit cards. Now, of course, those referral links I would get, compensated for, but I felt like that was the best way to spread the information via social media. And along my way, certain people who know me personally, they didn't like it. So I believe they had reached out to YouTube to flag me. So my YouTube channel actually was, disengaged. So I had to ask for permission to be reinstated. And once I was reinstated, they took off all of my referral links.
Really?
So my thing is now, let's just say if I wanted to post something, like for instance, I'm in the recession proof group. So I have access to Knots Don't Fold Discord. So he had something set up where you can actually do a referral for, his program. So let's say now if I wanted to post something like that, what about me possibly getting flagged again?
So it's funny that not funny, because what I'm realizing in this space, the credit and business funding space is starting to get very, very just highly scrutinized when it comes to platforms, social media platforms. Because what I was going to say is to the next thing that I was going to offer, which I'll still offer, may or may not apply. But one of the things that could help you in terms of not getting banned or not getting restricted is creating a page, like a site, a funnel page, or a quick little WordPress site. Put the links on that actual page, and that way on your YouTube channel, the links are your own generic links, right? Like Facebook isn't going to click into the link and see where it goes. So if you have a YouTube page with all of your links, then someone can click the link in your description, go to your actual page, and they can get the affiliates from there. So it creates one degree of separation from the social media platform. So you don't have to worry about them looking at your, if it's saying credit in the hashtag and then banning the credit. So consider putting all your links on one page and then having people click that one link to get to all of it's kind of like if you wanted to do a link tree type of button, but you don't own that data. So I would suggest creating your own funnel page, put your actual unique affiliate links on there, and then have them track have them click your button. But the second thing I was going to say is about traction, and this is kind of, maybe you're not, I want to share it, which I know it works for some people, but I know with special ads, it doesn't. If you wanted to like run ads to your, like your content, then people could actually get, you can get more traffic to your content. Speaking on the benefits of knowing credit, instead of talking about, hey, 750 credit score, using those words because Facebook picks up on those words, then you could run an ad that's more like, hey, I want to help you travel for free, which I've heard that type of terminology used. Hey, I want to help you travel for free, or learn how to earn on vacation, or something like that. They click the link, they watch your content, they have your unique link in the description, and it takes them to your unique affiliate links. So that way you're not funneling in people on the pretense of credit, which again, there's a lot of people, not just like in your circle, but there's a lot of people that aren't necessarily okay with Black people knowing about credit for some reason. But you speak to the people in a soft tone in your ad, bring them to your content, use a unique, your unique link, and then have them come to your own page to make money on the affiliate links.
Could I add
Right,
something?
that makes sense.
If there's no problem, can I add something to that?
Sure.
All right. Basically, what I wanted to add on top of what she said, because everything she said was correct. I would also add this. If you have the affiliate, if you have a contract with that person on an affiliate or whatever, because when you have a business account, even though it's their platform, as long as you're giving truthful content about what you're saying on that platform, and you have an affiliate contract with that individual, with that business, if they shut the page down and the page is a business page on there, but you're giving truthful information and factual information, then you legally will have a lawsuit as well. That's all.
All right. Thanks for the information. I appreciate it.
Thanks for the question, Donnell.
No problem.
Yeah, that answered the question. I just had these big ideas about once I got started and built some traction, then I could actually contact the credit card companies and tell them, hey, I'm bringing a lot of traction to you all. So now we need to actually talk and, pay me a little something on the side for my service.
That's definitely, it's happening. It's literally happening. It's literally happening in the credit space. So because for some credit companies, they want to get in touch with the Black community. They want to get in touch with younger people so they can educate us on how to use credit. And so if you become an authority on that, then they can reach out to you and absolutely want you to like be one of those brand ambassadors. It's happening for sure.
Do the contracts with them. Do the contracts with them. And if the page is already growing, do the contract with them as the page is already growing. Let them see your page and then negotiate the contract with them before. That way, like I said, when you have the contract with them and they try to do something to the page, now they're affecting not only your business, but their business. And then y'all have a joint lawsuit against the platform that's doing it because you're giving information that's factual. So, all right.
Gotcha. Good point.
All right. Any more questions?
I have a question, Arylle. So I know you said that you just hit 1,000 subscribers. So can you give us like any tips or tricks for any of us that have YouTube channels or have, our podcast on the YouTube?
Yes, absolutely. So there are a couple of things that I know that work now that I didn't necessarily pay attention to before. But if you guys get started now by like focusing on these metrics, then I'm sure you can hit 1,000 much sooner. So first of all is consistency. So posting, because I post on the same time every single week, that literally allows me to look and say, okay, I probably get about 2 to 3 new subscribers a day. And now, like on a good day, it's like, oh, I hit 10 subscribers. It's because like maybe one of my guests did something pretty cool and they got traction on the page. But just through posting consistently, I'll see about 3 to 5 new subscribers a day. So choose a day that you want to post something and just rock out. You can even create a bunch of content, upload it all. Like let's say you create 5 different pieces of content, you upload it all, but you don't publish it all. If you create a publishing cadence, then that can get you ahead of the game. So uploading all your content, then publishing, like scheduling it out so that people constantly engage with your page on a consistent basis, that can definitely get your algorithm going. Another thing that's been really, really helpful is promotion. I didn't start like heavily promoting the page. I would release a podcast, and I would of course tell you guys in the morning meetup, but when I started to run ads to my own podcast, and then 2, promote it more about like, hey guys, subscribe, having call to actions in my social media, talking about it in person, that was something that really funneled the activity. So for a while, I stopped focusing on my Instagram and I just focused on YouTube subscribers. So when I met someone in person, instead of sending them to my social media, I sent them to my YouTube. So I was getting subscribers simply by like whatever I was doing. If I met somebody in person or if I'm promoting it on my social media, I was focusing on it. So consistency, promoting it. And then if you want to like run ads to it, that's the easiest way. Like that's like a cheat code, which I didn't know. I didn't know until I started running ads, but I found out about ads like 100 episodes in. And some people literally run ads to get their social media and their YouTube channel up to 1,000 subscribers quick. The only thing is, even if you get it to 1,000 subscribers, you still have to get 4,000 watch hours. So people still have to be watching your content in order to monetize. So if anybody's like, why does it matter to get 1,000 subscribers? It's because once you get 1,000 subscribers, YouTube allows you to place ads in your content, and they pay you now, but they want to make sure that people are actually watching your content. So you want to promote, you want to post consistently, and you want to engage with your audience as much as possible. Those would be the 3 things. Literally, the recipe is very, very simple. It's like a piece of bread, like some flour, water, and dough. Just that's it.
Thank you so much. I have one question. As we're closing out, what would you tell someone who is in their 9-to-5 and they want to take that leap into, being their own boss and, just going out on their own into full-time entrepreneurship, but they're afraid of the unknown?
Yeah, my advice, if I would give one thing, it would be prove your concept. Prove your concept, and that's anything. So in business, that means sell to three clients to know that you have a feasible product that people actually want to purchase. If it's not like monetary and you want to go, like I said, you want to quit your job to find yourself, prove your concept. You want to sing, go to an open mic night before you quit. You want to paint, go do some paintings. You want to be a graphic designer, get a client or 2, sell them some art. Like prove your concept, like play around. And I promise you, it's better to play around and still collect a check than to quit your job and then go out and try all these different things now that you have a free life. Like keep your paycheck, test out your life, the life that you want, right? Go and do dirt bikes if that's what you think you want to quit your job for. Go sell some t-shirts if you want to quit your job for that. Test out the life that you want and prove your concept. That way, by proving your concept, it does a couple of things. Like in entrepreneurship, it shows that you can make money outside of your job. In personal life, it gives you confidence that this is the actual life that you want to live. In purpose, it shows you, okay, I did try open mic night. I don't really like it. Okay, I did try to sell this graphic design. I don't really like it. Whatever it is, you get to test out your life. You can test it out, see if it's a good thing. And it gives you feedback. So before you leave, you get the confidence that you need. You have feedback. You know that what you're offering, people want to buy. You can pay your bills without your 9-to-5. So proving your concept just means proving to yourself that you can actually count on yourself. Proving your concept means that you can count on your business to pay your bills. Just prove your concept. That's if I were to give you one advice, it would be that. But if I could give you one other one, It will be trust God. It would literally be trust God. It would be trust God 10 times over. When I quit my job, talk about confidence, improving my concept, I had faith in myself. Remember I said that I told myself, well, I'm already making close to 6 figures, so I know I have the ability to do it again. I personally have the ability, but I didn't say, God, I know that you can do it. I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the faith to say, God, I know that you can do it for me. So I was working on my own little gasoline. And God was looking like, how long are you going to do this? How long are you going to try to do this on yourself, on your own? You want to tap me in? And I was really struggling on my own. So absolutely, it would be prove your concept, but it would just be trust God.
I love that, Arylle. Thank you so much. You know what, to be honest with you, I was a chicken. Like I was so afraid to quit my job. Like it was a devastating thing for me. And so I love how you said have faith in yourself, because that's super duper important. And me, myself, I didn't quit. I went on a leave of absence and I never came back. So, eventually I got, terminated, or they're like, well, what happened to this nurse? She never came back. But I needed that to happen, right? I needed that to happen because I didn't have the courage to quit, right? Even though I was already making money outside of my career, I was like, I still want to hold on to it. It was, I was tethered. Mm-hmm. And so that word faith and that word trust is just so powerful, is so important. And that's the recipe. That's exactly what people need. They need the faith, like you said, to believe in yourself, but you need to trust God in the process. Yes, and that's what I do now, right? I after already being in full-time entrepreneur, like I trust in the process, right? I don't let nothing worry me. I'm like, God got me, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So thank you so much. Thank you for coming out tonight, being a wonderful guest speaker. Thank you for pouring into the community. I know that they got a lot of wealth of information from you tonight. Any last questions, comments, or concerns before we let our wonderful guest speaker go for the evening? You got, look, fire emojis in the chat. Thank yous.
Thank you so much, Christina. I am very, very, very honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me to your community. Like literally building community is what's really, really dope. So to have 1 or 2 people join on the same wavelength, it's amazing. So I thank y'all so much for being here. And literally, with the fire emojis, I can't thank y'all enough, but I appreciate y'all listening to me run my mouth, because hopefully it was some helpful information.
It really was. Thank you everyone for joining, and we will see you next week for another masterclass. Have a good night.
Night, guys.